Wellity. This was the moment. This was the moment when Jimbo called it. We're going to talk about Virgil van Dijk and his priceless performance against, and don't ever go at me because I didn't say it, Gary Neville. Go and tweet Gary Neville. He called you the £1 billion bottle jobs, which I'll be honest, I thought was a little bit far. I thought it was a little bit unnecessary. We're going to talk about so much in this video. It was a fantastic game of football. Liverpool snuck the win at the end of it, but we're going to talk about the players who decided it. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to reveal who those players are right this minute. The players that won it were the following players. For me, it was these guys. It was this guy. And in terms of crucial performances from Chelsea, we've got to talk about Colwill because some big incidents revolving around him and Gallagher as well. But so many key players within this game, and there'll be so much talk about the kids. And I understand that the kids played brilliantly in terms of them coming on. There was so much that happened in this game. It was absolutely incredible. But this was such a ding-dong affair. There were big moments when, and Chelsea should have won this game. Chelsea should have won this game. But they obviously didn't. And actually, zonal marking both saved Chelsea and cost them at the end of it as well. I'm probably going to give some controversial opinions here, so if you're not ready for them, maybe it's time to leave. But if you do want to stick around and hear me talk about the wonder that is Virgil van Dijk, we've had videos on this channel where we have critiqued him. And I think we've had to critique him at times. And I think that's been okay, because I think there's been moments when he's not excelled. This was one where he totally excelled because of what happened in the game itself. Gravenberch, we'll get into that pretty quickly. But what happened was, because of the changes that had to be made, Gravenberch coming out, Gomez, of course, having to come in, on what was already an outrageously light midfield and bench. Let me just take this off. And it meant that Gomez went here. Bradley, all of a sudden, is playing as a right winger. He's a very attacking force, but it's not kind of what they wanted. And prior to that, it felt like it was a game where the press was really strong for Liverpool. Chelsea really struggled to get settled. And I thought the game was going to be won and lost in this area here, because Palmer was sort of stepping in at times. Sterling was sometimes going wide and going beyond, but also getting into the central areas as well. And it was one where, could the press of Gravenberch at the time and McAllister and Elliott at times, was that press going to be strong enough, or were Chelsea going to be able to play their way through it and get the ball to players like Palmer? And I think after about 10 or 15 minutes, we started to see that change. Obviously, the Gravenberch injury massively changes everything. And so what happened was, Chelsea started to sort of overrun the midfield, and Liverpool were exposed. Watch this game back, and those players that I've highlighted there, and in particular one being Endo. Poor Endo, man. You've got to remember with games, there's not utter dominance all of the time. Sometimes there's just hanging in there. And that is exactly what Liverpool had to do at times. In terms of them being able to get up the pitch, there was one thing that I thought was quite interesting and really clever from them, was that they looked to have McAllister in particular and Elliott kind of playing just off Gakpo in these areas here. And what happened was Gomez stepped into and became an inverted fullback somewhat. Let's move Konate and Van Dijk around, of course. And Carragher and Neville were talking about, "What, Gomez, why are you coming in? Why are you coming in?" I'm going to show you exactly why in just a second. But from an offensive point of view, the problem you had when you've not got Salah and Nunez and, I guess Gravenberch less so, but even being able to have Harvey Elliott out on that wide side and having Bradley be able to offer that width in terms of going round, there was very little pace in behind for this team. So in terms of having anything going forward, one thing that I thought was really interesting, and was their route to winning, not to winning the game, but staying in the game and creating some chances at times, was creating these kind of triangles. Actually, let's go back. Creating these kind of triangles here, where Elliott, Diaz, and Endo. And actually, this was either Elliott or McAllister was coming to do the same. But then a similar thing on the other side. And actually, Bradley was a bit of a decoy. And importantly, Gomez was a bit of a decoy. And the second half of that first half, they started to get a little bit more joy because, one, you've got that triangle. Two, you've got that cute player in Harvey Elliott or McAllister in those little half spaces. And finally, in particular, on that left-hand side, Robertson was one of those players who could bomb on, and you could create a bit of an overload there as well. So that was how Liverpool were trying sort of to hang in there. But on transition, they were really, really struggling. And in particular, Endo, who, as I've said, had a great game, he was so alone in transition, because what happens is when these players come back, obviously, Robertson comes back here and you have your back four. Let's just get rid of him again. What happens is Endo, poor old Endo, he has to deal with so much space during the game. And he put in the most ridiculous shift. And the reason why Chelsea should have won this game was because in terms of Elliott, McAllister and Endo as a midfield three, especially when you're getting overloaded by the players that Chelsea had, it made life very, very difficult. And actually, in terms of Chilwell getting involved at times, let's just take these off again. In terms of Chilwell getting involved at times, he then meant that, and same with Gusto actually, Endo just had to do doggies and doggies and doggies in defensive transition. And what it led to was Gallagher having a lot of space in that central area. Let me show you exactly what I mean. First of all, with the average positions, I think, of Endo. Because Endo, I think it's one where he both struggled and was absolutely brilliant, both in the same time, because of how exposed they were. Because the press from McAllister and Elliott, these are two players that aren't kind of known for that, and the overall shape of the team was struggling a little bit as well. So they didn't really know what they were doing at times, and understandably got cut up by a team that they've spent £1 billion on, right? But if we ever look at the average positions here, let's just go to them here, forgive me. You can see, in particular, first of all, that centrality of what they were trying to do from Chelsea's point of view. But Endo, first of all, Harvey Elliott, which we'll get to his performance, I thought he was incredibly mature throughout the game. I thought he was so fantastic for them. And actually, a lot of those younger players were looking to give it to him, and he was that player who's going to just give them that second to calm down a little bit. But he played wide, he played in central areas, he played over on the left-hand side at times. But if you think of the distance between Harvey Elliott, McAllister and then Endo, look at the work that Endo had to do both on the ball and without the ball, and it will get forgotten, but he was absolutely astonishing. Also, again, for a game where Liverpool had the ball but also were getting hurt in transition a lot of the time, these two, Virgil van Dijk and Konaté, I'll show you the stats at the end of the video, but it was absolutely incredible. But once again, they did get overloaded. Chelsea did have some good moments, and I thought Colwill had a fantastic game. Obviously, we're going to get to the big moment. But Gallagher had some huge chances. And Chelsea should have won the game. And actually, if we have a look at the shots from the game, if we scroll down a little bit, you can see it here. Look at the chances that they had. So many chances from inside the penalty area and close to the goal itself. You know, obviously you've got to give Kelleher some huge credit for it because he's made some unbelievable saves. There was a moment in the first half where the three shots together, it was an XG of essentially a penalty. So essentially he's made a penalty save there. And then later in the game, of course, he makes another couple of huge saves and players putting their body on the line. I do want to talk about Chelsea here as well, because in terms of them going and winning the game, I do want to say I thought Colwill was fantastic in this game. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and I thought the energy of Gallagher was superb. And he stayed very centrally to expose that problem from Endo. I'll tell you what, whilst I've got the screenshots lined up, this is a great example of Gomez coming into that central area and then allowing McAllister and Harvey Elliott to get involved and create this triangle here that we were talking about a little bit earlier on. And if we move it along one, we'll probably see another example of that. Yep, we will. We'll see Gomez in here. Gomez is there because he's steady enough on the ball, but it also creates space a little bit wider, and also this lane here for Harvey Elliott to get on the ball as well. So I just wanted to show you those quickly. Let's keep moving, because this is the massive, gargantuan area that Endo, and more importantly, again, another reason why this could have been Arsenal's day, is in transition, McAllister, Elliott, Endo. Look at the space there is. And in particular, obviously, this was Gallagher's role throughout. was to be the starting point for the press. But once the ball was in attacking transition, move it along, and stay in that central area. We could show another example of that. And some of the chances came from that. Again, Endo getting sucked out, not because he wants to, but just because the press overall wasn't strong enough from this Liverpool side, because they are utterly depleted. Again, more than one thing can be true. Let's stay in the grey. Endo had a great game, but Endo was exposed. And what that means is that other players are exposed as well, which we're getting to, Konaté and Van Dijk. So this area here, always an option for Chelsea. And you can see, look, Raheem Sterling looking to get involved as well to try and help out. Because it's such an option of opportunity for them. But they weren't able to take their chances. They had so many chances in the game. Another example where Endo, again, is having to go out and do really, really dirty work that he ideally wouldn't want to do. And again, it was leaving overloads. And time and again, that happened. And Chelsea had their chances. They didn't take their chances. Gallagher, of course, hit the post as well. Again, two things could be true. I thought Gallagher had a great game, showed great energy, but you've got to take those chances. And I think that's the thing that, with Gary Neville saying what he said, I think what he was saying was that if this is a real team with real confidence that plays on the front foot first, which is what Liverpool sides have always done under Jurgen Klopp, I think, first of all, if you swap the managers here a little bit, or just swap Klopp with any other manager, really, or this space in time that Chelsea find themselves in, the youngsters for this Liverpool side were helped by those senior pros around them to get them to that next level, but also the mindset was right. For this Chelsea side, that killer instinct to go and win the game just didn't seem to be there. Let's go back to that message that I sent. So I'm pretty buzzing with this, because what happened was I was saying Liverpool were banking. Let's circle it. Liverpool are banking on a bit of Diaz magic. And he said, Gallagher constantly, this is Kai, my producer. We chat throughout the game to sort of help me get together my thoughts. And I think, look, this is Penn's or Chelsea's, in my opinion. Oh, a set piece from Liverpool. Spoil it there. And then pandemonium. We've all had that in our group chats over the years. Mate, wait for it. No way have I called it. Yes, I did call it. And again, Liverpool hung in there. They didn't have the weapons that they wanted to have, but they stuck in there and they got their rewards. And zonal marking was a big part in all of this for me. Let's have a look at the two controversial things. First of all, the Gravenberch Caicedo one. You're not going to like this, Liverpool fans, but I think it's clearly an accident. I think he's already turning and looking for the next thing. He's literally just making a step, in my opinion. I don't think there's any malice in it from Caicedo. And so, yeah, look, it's one of those people go, well, yeah, sometimes you don't have to mean it to get booked. I get that, but I thought it's a little bit, I don't know, I think it was just unfortunate, personally. And again, sometimes it can be unfortunate. And obviously, Liverpool would be wildly unfortunate with injuries. But my opinion of that one, and obviously I'm neutral, I didn't think there was any malice in it. This one, I thought, this is, so zonal marking has saved Chelsea on this occasion. But it was zonal marking that kills them for the Van Dijk goal as well. So initially, I'm thinking, what on earth? This has got from this angle, and again, I think from what you're seeing with Endo, and there's another shot of him having that look, there is that clear body language, obviously, that he's looking to sort of do that block. We see this everywhere, all the time. And I think with zonal marking, and an understanding that a team plays zonal marking, if you're a defender, survey the situation. Have a look, see what's going on. And if you see what's going on, you go, hang on, you got this bloke who's standing offside and he's the wrong side of me. And so if there was any form of man marking going on here in terms of him being Van Dijk's player, then he's the wrong side. If he's marking Van Dijk, why is he the wrong side of Virgil van Dijk? Doesn't make any sense if we're going from a man marking standpoint, right? I think if we move it on, if we go back here, what happens though, and this is what they said at the end of it, was that it happens here and it's within, actually this would be better, it's within the line of which Colwill would have wanted to run into. That is assuming that they're doing zonal marking. And so you're allowing for that sort of infiltration of the tactics of the team to be a part of this. It feels like utter nonsense for me. And I think it's rubbish. I think it's absolute rubbish that you're just assuming that because he's a big defender and Van Dijk's a big defender, then that it shouldn't be a goal. And I get it, like, he's offside, it's like, fine. But in terms of, Colwell would have got there, well, I mean, would Gallagher have got there? Chilwell definitely didn't get there, so that doesn't matter. Would Disasi have gone backwards and got there? Like, you're just guessing. I don't get it. The basic line of Endo, and that's the final thing in terms of Endo being involved in this. Endo stops. Endo doesn't run. He just stands here. The goal comes here. So how is he like, we've seen it. I get it. He's blocking. I get it's that little bit cheeky, but he's also just standing still. I think it's a bit heavy, man. And I think you see it all the time. But ironically, the goal comes from a team defending with zonal marking as well, as we move it on to the moment in question, the moment where Liverpool won this tie. And they won it due to defensive brilliance of Van Dijk and Konaté, for sure. And I have to show you their stats. But you just kind of knew, didn't you? Virgil van Dijk. And look, okay, I called it a bit late, but I called it early. It arrived late. The only way they were going to really score, it felt like, was from a cross. Tsimikas puts in that cross, which is absolutely superb. And it's the zonal marking that kind of hurts them there, isn't it? Whereas if there is that man marking there, that might have been the way that they've stopped it. But how many teams are able to stop Virgil van Dijk? So, ironically, it was that cost them at the end of it. Did they deserve to win at Liverpool? It doesn't really matter. I think whoever gets the win deserves the win. Could Chelsea have done that a little bit more? Are we expecting too much from this Chelsea side? I think we're expecting more, but I think this is a young team with a group of individuals who I don't think they know who they are as people. So when you think of those great teams of, say, like, you never win anything with kids, right? That Man United team had proper senior pros around to help out and get them through. And to come back to it, I mean, Konaté could even chuck into the mix with this. Endo, exactly the character you need in a situation like this. Worked his socks off. Van Dijk, McAllister, that little bit older, he's lived that little bit more. Elliott, in terms of the games that he's had, I think you could maybe chuck it in there. Robertson. Like that core was there to sort of guide those youngsters through. Keller, absolutely superb in this game as well. Let's be honest. I've got to say, Elliott is just such a great player. I really, really enjoy his composure, his maturity, the fact that he moved to different places, the fact that he grew as the game progressed. But, you look at this Chelsea side, it's going to take time. And you're hoping that they can build the mindset. But the mindset is certainly not there right now. I promised I'd show you the stats. Because, as I say, Van Dijk was priceless, unbelievable. But Konaté was a joke as well. And for the amount of running that they had to do, the amount of counter-attacking moments that Chelsea had, it wasn't that utter dominance that you normally see for Liverpool. So they've got to put in a proper shift. And Virgil van Dijk, 14 defensive actions, 7 clearances, 3 tackles as well. I think special mention to McAllister as well. Lots of defensive actions from him. Lots of duels from McAllister as well, 15. He won 10 of those duels. You can see here, if I move it up to the top, Enzo Fernandez getting involved in a lot, only winning half of those duels. But back to the defence, and Konaté, as you can see, defensive action 9, and importantly for me, 4 interceptions as well. Those two, with Endo in front, had to deal with a lot of space, and they did it absolutely superbly. They spoke about it in commentary. How do you follow that? How do you follow Jurgen Klopp and what he's been able to instill in this group? Well, I've done a video talking about the possible heir, Xabi Alonso, and how he might set up. If you haven't checked that out, then it's right here, right now. Enjoy.